Good evening, Maneru Makadini. My name is Tariro Negitare, and welcome to Business Unusual. That was XQ, Hansi Sweeter. I can't get over how amazing he was at the Joe Thomas. Just the XQ guy. There's no creative economy yet with the consistency and just coming up with a product that is world-class. So we celebrate that. And welcome to tonight's discussion on entertainment real estate in Zimbabwe. We've been seeing that there's a lot of growth and development happening in our country, and most of us, well rather some of us, are wondering if we're ready to host these large-scale events that could boost our economy. From the concerts to the festivals, some of these events require some suitable venues and some infrastructure. But the question remains, does Zimbabwe have the necessary real estate to support such shows? So joining me tonight is Mike Tashaya, who's an expert in real estate both locally and internationally, to explore the current state of the real estate in Zimbabwe and what it could take for a country to become a hub for major events. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure, but I don't want everyone to assume that, to assume who you are. So I'm just going to do a quick intro. If I can open this thing right here. But welcome to the show. It's good to have you back in Zim.
It is, yep. It is good to be back.
Tell us a bit about your trip.
So I'm coming back from the UK and doing a property showcase. As SIF, obviously, where I work for, but as the real estate industry, where we took a lot of exhibitors, developers, conveyancers, and other players in the industry to showcase to the diaspora market, UK specific this time, what is going on the ground in Zimbabwe. And it was very productive in the sense that we had done this last year, we've gone back this year, and we went back with more sort of conversations based on the feedback we got last year. And the outcome has been that the people who attended this year came with more of a purpose.
Nice.
Last year was curiosity.
Yes.
This year it was more like intentional. I want to do this, I want to buy here, I want to buy there, and what can I do, what's coming in the next 5 years. So obviously we had to share our pipeline, our stock. So it was really exciting, very productive, and I think the diaspora market is really developing a good appetite for investing in Zim now.
Nice.
And I think it's going to keep growing. There's a lot of those who have done the 20, 30, 40 years out there. They do want to retire out there. They want to come back home.
Yeah.
But they want to come back to a safe, secure location to invest in and build something that's very diaspora friendly or relevant to their lifestyle they've had over the last few years. So it's exciting times in that regard in terms of the diaspora market.
That's good. I'm just going to get into your intro again. So Mike Tashaya is a seasoned property professional with over 25 years of experience in real estate and marketing, currently making waves in Zimbabwe after a successful decade in the UK. As a co-founder of ZimThrive and a prominent figure in the Zimbabwean diaspora community, he champions initiative that empowers Zimbabweans globally. With a proven track record of placing over 3,500 families in homes and driving multi-million-pound sales, Mike is now leading the development wing at SIF Properties, focusing on affordable housing solutions. So we thought, okay, this is someone we need to pick their brain. Affordable in terms of just the opportunities that are there in our industry as creative practitioners, because we are seeing a huge gap in terms of how we are received and are operating at home as opposed to when we're in other countries. So tell us about your move back home. How has that been, and what opportunities are you seeing in that space?
So it's been great. I mean, I did plan this over a period of time, and I did see opportunity. I did get offered a fantastic opportunity and a vehicle to operate from. Because what I was doing in the UK, in London, was development, and as we know that different budgets and different landscapes require different types of skills to operate in. So what I've been able to bring to the Zim market and the Zim real estate industry is just that calmness of understanding a deal and understanding what can be achieved from a piece of land, and creating something that works for the developer and the buyer, and obviously the project managers or the agents, as we receive. So I'm not doing anything scientific here with my coming back home. I'm just maybe focusing on doing the basics very well, professionalism, trying to understand why is this value to that value, and why is this that value, understanding the value of the dollar, for example, understanding what a good property looks like, for example, a good unit, what works with the market, packaging it quite well.
Yeah.
How can we get the low cost or low income people able to get on the property ladder, coming up with opportunities that they can sort of have a look at. So what we've managed to do, ACF now, is we've managed to make real estate a mainstream conversation.
Nice.
About real estate.
Yeah.
Because it was so expensive, I can't even start it. But we are giving them the opportunity to have a conversation, prepare themselves for investing in property in the future. So you don't have to have a conversation with us today. No, you could buy in 10 years, but you've
started the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So we do our property clinics. The showcases are fantastic, and we're just taking our products out there and just making real estate. It's the biggest investment anyone will ever make in their life.
That's true.
Yes, but we have to try and make it a conversation that they can be comfortable having for that to happen. So I but just prepare yourself and have a conversation, ask questions. So how much do I need to save? How do I get on that property ladder? So it's just a conversation that people just have to keep having.
Yeah.
And opportunities will come.
So, we see a lot of development happening, not only in Harare, even Mulawi, where I'm coming from, and just surrounding cities. Can you provide an overview of the current state of real estate in Zimbabwe, and particularly with the focus on entertainment, real estate, and cultural spaces?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. The country right now is a construction site. Kurukubakwa everywhere. And that's always a sign of money.
Yep.
We've got cranes hanging over Harare. That's a sign of there's money somewhere. And the fact that the land development program is so long. We're talking about pipelines that are 5, 10 years, 15 years. New city, for example, hasn't even started.
Yes.
But that's the program that's coming. But I've had this conversation with you before, and I know we had a dialogue around this Jacaranda last year. We have all these estates that have been built, all these commercial centers that have been built, but there is no provision for the arts or the entertainment.
Yes.
And why is that happening? I suppose we'll kind of unpack it over the next half an hour, but in terms of the industry itself, the challenges, because we're saying our economy is what it is.
Yeah.
Inflation, the monetary policy, but that hasn't stopped developers seeing an opportunity in mobilizing funds, land acquisition, and actually coming up with suitable developments for certain areas. So the north is thriving, northwest with the new city is thriving, but we're starting to see developments around the country now. So SC, for example, we have mandates from Rusape, Mtare, Bulawayo, plenty, Gweru, Kwekwe, Marondera, quite a few in Harare itself. There is growth all around in that industry, but going back to entertainment, there is a lack of the industry itself coming in and presenting a business case to developers and say, Highlands Park, why don't we have a Reps at Highlands Park? Why don't we have a 7 Arts at Highlands Park? Those sort of conversations are what's lacking, and the responsibility lies is both sides. The industry itself not pitching, but the developers themselves not seeing opportunity in the arts and entertainment sector to say, maybe if we put a theater here, it could actually bring in revenue. It's a good business case to have. So we need to have these conversations between all stakeholders so that we start catering more for that industry. It's not going to happen on its own.
Yeah, but how do I even pitch? Where do I even start? I've got an idea. I've got events I've done, and I can prove the numbers that, look, these numbers can come over a certain period of time. Who do I even go to?
Well, developers, of course, but I'm here today. I'm in the industry.
Okay.
And you know what? I actually have interest in the entertainment aspect because I've actually worked there before in the UK, and I've done ZiFM, I've done ZiFM. So I understand both sides. But I don't have someone here on the ground who is in the arts. Well, I've got you.
Yeah, now you have me.
But why don't you build a business case to some of these developers that we work with, that we represent, and say, but you know, sports club, you know, stadium cannot go around 5,000.
Yeah.
You know, there could be some good, because they could start hiring that up. They don't have to sell it, it's build it and just make it the landowner's generational wealth program. And they just use it for hiring out for events. You know, things. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about rocket science. We're just talking about just an acknowledgement of actually there's an art sector that can benefit from the full build program we have for this location. I mean, Highlands Precinct, I know we talk about Highland Park. The precinct itself, you've got a lot going on. There's the design and quarter. They're going to build lots of apartments. And there's a lot of action going on. It's a suitable area with the development of the north to put some entertainment center out there. I know there's Arts Farm on Narada, but there's nothing else really.
There's nothing else.
And that sort of thing. That's where all the money is.
I see.
Right?
There's a light bulb that just went up. So in one of our last episodes, we had a conversation with entertainment entrepreneur Walter Wanyanya. Considering the example of bringing a global superstar like Beyonce, you know, we had this conversation again earlier before the show. And to host a concert of that magnitude, we'd need a venue with the state-of-the-art sound, lighting systems, parking, security. So we're talking about a stadium or an arena with the seating capacity of about 20 to 50,000 people. Again, we'd require the accommodation, we'd require her pink room, we'd require everything that she wants us to have. But currently we cannot do that because of infrastructure. And then I remember we talked about this last time, and the comments were Inga Wanetembo, Stana Bob Mali. But when you look again, same issue. That stadium, is it fit for us to use, right? So talk to us about that. Are these spaces still safe for use, and what happened to those spaces, and how do you see it? Because you're coming from a space where these concerts are happening. How do we do that?
Well, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done around infrastructure and capacity even to host these events. So that's one thing. Second thing, you mentioned Walter. Well, he's putting together world standard events. You know, I mean, Jacaranda, I mean, the Joe Thomas show, those were world standard events. So we can do this. Yeah. Right? We used to have IFA, which was an outstanding international event, world standard. Fantastic, but they pulled back because of lots of things, financial being one of them. But I also think the landscape has changed a little bit now, in the sense that there's a bit of money flying around, and there is the audience to sort of attend these things, even international audience. But what we're not doing, I think it goes back to the conversation I said earlier around infrastructure actually being built in Zimbabwe right now. The country is under construction. Why aren't we building, you know, these venues and these stadiums? It's because we're not as arts industry.
I'm representing the whole arts industry today.
You're not presenting business cases.
I see.
You're not presenting
coming
business cases.
Back to that.
You know, but it's not just about presenting business cases. It's also about you put together a proposal and you're saying to a developer or to Westpro, to K-Shop, and say, look, in your next development, we think that putting together this building that sits 2,000 people is going to help generate more revenue for this shopping park or for this residential mixed-use shopping park for these reasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's why the business case. You have to demonstrate value when you do these cases. But we're not seeing a lot of that. But I also blame you guys, and it's okay. And I say this in the most respectful way.
Yes. I'll take the punches.
Yeah. In that, I think there's a lot of sitting back that happens where you're expecting everyone else to do these things for you while you sit. So you're expecting government to be government, then if they're not going to be. You're expecting finances, you're expecting these investors to just suddenly have a light bulb and say, you know what, they're not going to do that. Because they're thinking about their own income. And they're also thinking about what's this place going to look like in 10, 20 years' time in terms of my income.
Yes.
Right? And I can almost guarantee you that they're not going to be thinking about a theater when they talk about that. Right? Good example. So we have the new city that's been built or coming. I've looked at the master plan. It doesn't really have a lot of arts entertainment in it. But there are spaces where that can happen.
Okay.
At the same time, CBD, State of Harare.
Yeah.
Everyone is moving northwest.
Meaning there's going to be space.
Yes. You know, some big cities like New York, London, they have an identity built around the arts. So the arts gets prominence in terms they are invited to come up with concepts to help with an identity of a city. What's the identity of Harare, for example? Okay. What's our identity as Harare? I don't know.
Sunshine. I don't know.
Creativity, right?
Yeah,
so creativity comes from the arts and the entertainment, you know. So there's an opportunity in the CBD. Let's call it the old CBD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the arts entertainment to really be part of the story of what's going to happen in the Harare CBD.
Wow.
At the same time, there's
a new opportunity.
Yeah, what are you going to do there as the arts and entertainment? Are we thinking about that? Or are we just waiting? They're not going to approach you.
In our defense,
you know?
Look, I'm glad you really brought that up because we have been sitting back a little bit. And I guess it's also a case of we don't know. But that's why we're having these conversations. So we start knocking at the right doors and having the right conversations. But there are some artists that are really doing some things. I'll highlight Mangoma, who's built an arts center in Domboshava, which is amazing because he's taking the cultural aspect and people are already traveling to come to that space. So those kind of people need support. We've got Quantum Klanga's space in Bulawayo, which I visited 2 weeks ago, and his daughter has really taken things up and really trying to spruce up the space and make sure that there's enough programs. So people are slowly understanding exactly what we should be doing in this space.
I agree.
So how do you believe that these community art centers and entertainment venues can contribute to the local economy and cultural identity? Because there are these spaces that are there that can just simply be revamped. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, no, very true. Some of the spaces, remember the conversation we had at Jacaranda last year where we were challenging the city of Harare around the facilities, and they said that the facilities are equal, but you guys don't come to us. I thought it was a fascinating statement. So these facilities are there, and the infrastructure is outdated, obviously. And I'm hoping this sort of new city, old city situation will get a lot of this spaces revamped. There's a lot of sponsorship or funding that needs to happen to get them to be state of the art and get used. But in terms of revenue, it's always going to be around, doing events, the higher side aspects of it, and actually having government has to put aside funding. They have to put aside funding of maintaining these facilities and investing money into the actual industry itself to get more talent coming up, more creatives, more managers to run the sites. We don't have enough of that. Or maybe I'm just sort of tucked away somewhere. I'm not seeing what's happening. The only stuff I see, obviously, are the big performing guys like Walter, Jacaranda, Komaneo Show. What else do we have?
There's quite a look. I mean, we'll talk about Munch and Sip actually in a bit. But there's quite a lot of these nice events popping up. And maybe we can get into that now. Because Munch and Sip is an event that happens in Bulawayo. I know. Big. And I think such a beautiful concept. The last episode that they had, it was shut down at 6 p.m., which was not... They had the clearances, they had everything in order, but the reason... They had actually tried to do it at Queen's. Then they had to move. They shut down Queen's and said, no, we can't have arts events. And an outdated bylaw, right? So... those few that are trying to do the best with the little that we have.
That was Bulawayo City Council.
That was Bulawayo City Council.
Terrible.
So how do we then navigate the people that are supposed to be assisting us are the same people that are stopping us from trying to do the best with what we have? Talk to us about how government policies can be improved to support the development of cultural initiatives.
Well, we need to get the arts people, fraternity, into government. Why aren't you guys part of the policy making teams?
I hear you.
Look at ZiFM, or football associations and stuff. There's always a call for former players to come in. But they understand the players, the psychology around it, philosophy around any then policies that you then have to put together. That has to be the same approach with arts. You can't just leave old people who probably don't know how to play guitar making these rules, because they don't understand your journey or your struggles as artists or the entertainment side of things. Then they're probably just thinking about revenue. I have a lot of respect for Bulawayo City Council on the real estate side of things. Those are the conversations I have with them, and I think they are really working so hard to try and fix the housing crisis, for example. So I respect that. I mean, they're not there yet, but they're much better than what's happening in Harare. In terms of Bulawayo City Council. So that Manchester situation was very disappointing. I never really got to the bottom of why that pilo was suddenly dug up from the dusty piece of paper to sort of apply it. But Bulawayo is known as a cultural center.
Yes,
it really is. More than Harare is. I mean, Harare I know is big, it's capital and everything, but Bulawayo actually does a lot, and there are a lot of creatives there, and you see it when you get there. So hopefully they can fix that. I think it was just bad management, I think, that Manchester thing, and I hope it can be fixed for this year.
I hope so too.
Yeah, unless they found another venue, have they? Do you know?
I don't know. Okay. I mean, I'm sure if I'm Mandy, like Mandipa, I would be traumatized. I would be traumatized.
It's a good concept.
Because you can imagine how much she lost from just that early.
Really, really bad, yeah.
That's very interesting. Again, you're mentioning Bulawayo, you're mentioning Vic Falls. How is the development happening in that area as well? Because if you look at events like ZITF, I know we're still struggling with accommodation in Bulawayo during those big events. So what is the situation looking like on that front?
Yeah. So ZITF and the main entrance and all that kind of stuff that happens at ZITF, bed shortage, terrible bed shortage, but it's seasonal in Bulawayo. It's only overbooked during those periods, and obviously when those events are happening, then the pricing gets ridiculous.
It inflates.
It really does. But in the last couple of years or so, or certainly my time back now, there's always this announcement of new international hotel brands coming into Zim. The Radissons, Four Seasons, they're all coming in. Bulawayo, Vic Falls, Harare, obviously. And Bulawayo is becoming a hotbed of Airbnb. There's a lot of Airbnb now, which tend to sprout around ZITF and the holiday season, Christmas, and all sorts. And that's people's livelihood, because Bulawayo is, even though it's trying to make its way back, there are a lot of developments that are coming up in terms of, I think maybe SNAST has a lot to do with that. So student accommodation.
There's that new complex as well. That's brilliant.
King City, they own vast land, and they're trying to sort of get that housing situation going. The city has just released a statement saying they're releasing 9,000 stands from a waiting list of 130,000 people.
Wow.
But they're trying. So it's not. So there are efforts to try and fix the situation in Bulawayo. But in terms of just sorting out that bed shortage, I think it's going to come down to Bulawayo improving economically. Industry has to come back. manufacturing. That used to be an industrial capital of the country. That's lacking. But we're seeing some activity in our industry as real estate of just development sprouting up. Not just Bulawayo, Matabeleland, so Wanda's got some action, Plumtree's got some action, Fig Tree. There's something going on in terms of just joining in the construction that's happening in Zimbabwe. So I'm glad that's happening. So maybe if we have a conversation in a year's time, we could be talking about something different when it comes down to Bulawayo.
That's true.
They're actually having a go to try and fix that.
So what are some of the challenges that you are seeing as you are developing? This is now in general, not just entertainment space. What are some of the challenges that you are facing or that you're seeing as you develop the city?
Professionalism. So these are kind of human things now.
Yeah.
Professionalism. You still got your dodgy operators, the bogus guys. We also have outdated methods to just development. So for the cluster, I call it the cluster crisis because anybody makes a little bit of money.
They build a
they're
cluster.
building a cluster.
Yeah.
Some of the clusters are not great because they are congesting a 2,000 square meter and put 100 units on a small blade of grass. So that's thought process of producing quality and just well thought out products that generate real revenue for them if they're looking to make some money, but also contributing to just the city development, but there's the other side of that, which is there's some fantastic developers that we have that are coming up in Zimbabwe, without mentioning a lot of names, but there's some really good stock that we'll see that is coming, and that is already there, but the balance has to be supply and demand.
Yes.
And can people afford what we build?
Yeah.
How can we make it affordable for them to be able to afford it? Those are the kind of things that have to align so that we win for everybody. But as it stands, anything that you put on the market is bought. So there's money to buy these things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You talk about affordability. It just came to, I just remembered, I don't know if you know that Coca-Cola Dome in South Africa that just got closed. And I'm thinking, if South Africans could not maintain that, can we afford? So just food for thought for myself there. I also wanted to find out from you, what are some of the spaces that you miss from being in Europe that you think would be perfect for a Zimbabwean setting?
I think because I was in London, there was just everything for anybody. It's a cultural capital, so you're able to just, if you want to say, you know what, today I just want to go and watch a Chinese movie, or I just want to go and have Korean barbecue. I just want to go and watch football.
There's
all day. You have to decide what you want to do and you plan, and it's all day. We don't have that variety in Zim.
Okay.
And so I miss those options.
Okay.
Where you can just wake up and decide, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I want to do this today. Let me see what's online, and then I choose what I want to do. I'm really hoping that Zimbabwe can get to that. It used to be like that. Let's be honest. Zim used to be amazing.
It did.
They used to be, but we're kids. So our parents maybe benefited more from that.
Yeah.
We have to get that back.
And how do we do that? Last week we actually had a conversation about, when I was at Amakosi, one of the guys who was there was like, no, we look around, there's DSTV everywhere. People would come here to the theater because there was no DSTV. And which means our media has a big part to play in just getting people back to what's ours. This afternoon I was with some kids at a music camp. 3 countries were represented. There was Botswana, Zambia and Zimbabwe. So I asked the kids from Botswana to come up, and they did a nice traditional dance. The Zambia team came up and did beautiful traditional dance. Ours came up and sang a pop song.
Really?
And I was like, so we are our identity is a bit...
It is.
Yeah, it's a bit messed up. And that is reflecting in everything else that we are. Can you speak into that?
It's a difficult one. So the conversation we used to have in the diaspora was, all these kids that are being born and bred over there when they're quite young, where the parents are not doing a lot to try and get them to connect with Zim or to sort of maintain that culture in their homes and stuff like that. But then they go to schools that they meet other African kids and they find them. There's a huge Afrofusion move that's happening globally right now, of course, Afrobeats, all this kind of stuff. And you find that these kids are now propagating towards these other African cultures. Or they can then decide that, I respect what my friend is doing. It's really in touch with this Nigerian heritage. I need to connect with my Zim heritage.
Yeah.
So that's there as well. So you find the Zim Fest now, it's a lot of kids that are attending it, that are born and bred.
Trying to reconnect.
Yes, they are. But are we just hosting them for that one day in a field and just leave it at that, or do we then follow up and sort of help these parents by having Shona centers, the village centers in the UK, or where we sort of maintain that? But here on the ground, it's very different because we don't have a national dress, when it comes to just appreciation of our own cuisine, certain things like that. We don't shout on the roofs of and it's cultures like French or Italians, they take their food seriously. They do, and it's part of who they are.
So is that not a business case?
It is. It actually is.
It definitely is a business case. I'm hearing it. And when I love Elephant Walk in Vic Falls, the artists and village, because you walk in and it's very Zimbabwean. Everything about it is Zimbabwean, and they've managed to commercialize it. So what stops us from just having that planted all over Zimbabwe?
There's nothing at all. I mean, Vic Falls, I always say to people, it seems like a different country.
Yes, it does.
It's amazing, and we then focus only on Vic Falls, even government. All the big events are done there.
Yes.
Everybody, if it's a tourism theme, we don't utilize the other spaces. Great Zimbabwe, it's our own doing. So we are a victim of what Vic Falls has become, and it's a shame because any new idea that comes up that promises to generate revenue is done in Vic Falls. And now they're building cricket ground there. It's the conservation issue. There's a lot of things that are wrong with our thought process when it comes to distribution of wealth around the country. You look at the UK. I always give an example of the UK because that's what I know.
Yeah.
All the headquarters are not in London.
Yeah.
Everything spread around the country. Zimbabwe used to be like that. Still in Kwekwe, David Whiting in Kadoma.
Yeah.
We had all these big Dunlop in Bulawayo. Everything was spread around the country because you need the GDPs for each different hotspot to be functional, to contribute to the national coffers.
Okay.
But now everything is happening in Harare or in Vic Falls. The other places are not aligning to that conversation. So I don't know what we can do, but me and obviously the industry I work in I'm always having conversation with different landowners that are looking to help for developing their estates wherever they might be around the country, and we hope that we can in some way contribute to growing those areas by what we are building in them. So Marondra has got quite a few developments that we've been participating in, and we hope that they can contribute to Marondra coming back to where it should be, which we're already seeing. Rusapi, we've got a really nice mixed-use development that's really up and coming that we hope that can help to the GDP of Rusapi. So these are the conversations we're having as developers. But I think everybody has to sort of participate in those conversations.
I see. One thing that I'm really taking away from this is we as an arts industry have a lot to do in terms of putting forward our business cases. But I do want to hear what ways can developers engage with the local communities to ensure that these entertainment spaces meet the needs and reflect the culture that we're talking about.
Well, we need more dialogue. Like we're doing. Obviously, my takeaway is whenever I'm in these land acquisition conversations, concept development, I also pipe up and say, what do you think about putting a theatre here? Sort of conversation, and try and put a business case from our perspective about how it can contribute to the development of an estate. You know, I'm definitely going to be having those conversations with other developers. But it's a collective, and there has to be collaboration from different stakeholders to demonstrate value. That's what it is. It's not just about the business case.
Yeah.
It's actually about then demonstrating value to that location where we're trying to put whatever venue it is or whatever entertainment center that is. And I think it will happen because we love our entertainment.
Oh, yes.
We love our artists. We're very creative people.
Yeah.
A bit sort of, how can I put it? Discouraged, I think, by the economics of the place. But some have managed to sort of work through that and, come up with fantastic situations like, Walter, with the Jacaranda and stuff like that. So, if you can produce something outstanding in such an environment, it just means that we all just have to work very, very hard to come up with these opportunities, because they don't just turn up. You have to work very hard.
That's true. That's true. So can you share any successful examples of entertainment real estate projects, either in Zimbabwe or elsewhere, that could serve as a model for future developments?
Well, the Joe Thomas show, let's talk about that. I didn't attend it, but I have attended a few of his shows. I did see what they did in Joburg for Joe Thomas. And I'm always trying to compare, these things, because I think we are a great audience in Zimbabwe. We love our music.
Oh, yes.
We really do. And whenever you see these events, you then realize that we can actually we can do this. I'll tell you a story about the brilliance of Zimbabwe. Not a story as such, but just a reference point of the AI space, for example.
Yes.
Some of the greatest minds in AI are
Zimbabweans.
Right? They actually are Zimbabweans. Yeah. And yet, as a nation, we don't benefit anything from their success. How can we tap into these thriving Zimbabweans out there and get the nation to sort of benefit from that? That's my food for thought. But ZimFest, it's the biggest Zimbabwean event outside Zimbabwe.
Yes.
For example, it's probably out of control now because it just keeps growing. And I think we have Zim Expo in the US.
In the US, yes.
Yeah,
is that still happening?
It is.
Okay.
Smaller, but it is well run. So we can do these things. That's my frustration as a Zimbabwean. Both as an ex-diasporan and being here on the ground, where we see all these success stories and think, but it's not why can't we do it? What's the problem? Is it us? Are we the problem? Because we can't keep blaming government in politics, right?
But there are system challenges that are really hindering a lot of the growth of these events.
Some are pulling it off on the ground.
Okay, we won't get into details.
We won't, right? But there are.
There's some big systemic.
There are a lot of challenges, of course. We're not going to get away from that. But there are embassies, for example, consulates that actually have budgets.
Yeah.
For arts and entertainment, actually. I don't know if you knew that. But if you go to them with a great story, the great business case, they will support.
But most of these don't invest in infrastructure.
Not infrastructure, but they can certainly add value to whatever you're doing.
I see. So what advice would you give to aspiring real estate developers interested in focusing on entertainment or cultural projects, hoping that some of them are listening and have been inspired?
Attend more events.
Yes.
And see the talent that's out there. Support some of these artists or some of these entertainers, comedies thriving right now.
Yes, it is.
Kandoro, you know,
it is.
And this Danny's case now,
Yeah.
last 2 years, and Nigel, all these guys we've just gone on and just made fun of our situation and made money from it.
Yeah.
So I think in our space, I think we need to pay more attention to the industry. Attend more events, like I said, and see how we can create opportunities in all these great concepts that we're coming up with for lifestyle estates or commercial centers. I think it's very, very doable. Every if we are using the first world as a benchmark, a lot of these big city centers have cultural centers. The UK has got New York has got Broadway. I think London has got, I can't even remember now.
Yeah.
But they have these corners within these big cities where it's just about the arts and entertainment.
That's true.
And I think we can do it as well.
I think so too.
We can do it as well.
And what do you envision for the future of entertainment real estate in Zimbabwe? Are there any upcoming projects that excite you?
I think it's going to come. A lot of people are saying that what's happening in the construction industry or real estate is a bubble. I think it's beyond that. I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's been happening a long time.
Yes, it
for
has.
it to be a bubble, I think, and if it's a bubble, it's a nice bubble to have. I'd rather bank my money in real estate, in something tangible than in the bank. I mean, that's the thing. And I think as we keep having these conversations, I think eventually some developers will start seeing value of, just plugging in centers within estates that homeowners or residents can sort of use. I think it will start that way, than going for the very big ones. I think that's the best approach. Until or maybe we can refurb our venues or facilities that the councils.
That's a good start, actually.
Because those are run down. I think they're probably used by Pentecostal churches now.
In weddings.
So they need to be refurbed.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the cheapest approach, and just
that's true.
Get them to world standard again.
Because a lot of the frames are still good. A lot of the frames are good. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. But before you go, please tell us about the event you're hosting in September.
Yes. September we have a property clinic. It's a concept we started last year, where we host the public at a restaurant, open air preferably, and we're doing it at Gawa before. We're doing it at Pan Africa this time.
Okay.
And property clinic is exactly as the name sounds. We're inviting people to come in, talk about everything real estate, ask questions, that whole mainstream thing again. We're not selling on the day, we're building relationships, we're helping people understand real estate in Zimbabwe and the process, what you need to do to get on the property ladder. It might also be that maybe you own property already, but you need help maybe in tenanting it out, or property management. We do valuations. Now, so we're doing the property development side of things. You might have a piece of land and have no money and don't know what to do with it. We can have conversations around maybe finding an investor for you and project manage to building something that's fantastic and to sort of build your income, definitely not clusters.
Mike doesn't like clusters,
so it's that
clearly.
It's that conversation of just, let's talk about real estate. Why don't you have a property? What's stopping you getting a property? I know it's income might be tricky, but there could be some low income products that you can look at, and we can help you prepare to invest in that in 2, 3, 5, 10 years. That's really good. So that's what the property clinics are. So we have that. We only have one this year, and that's on the 20th of September.
Okay.
Belgrave,
That is amazing, Mike. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm going to mobilize a few of my creatives as well, because these are conversations we need to be having. Where you're going to go home and sleep, and so I really appreciate you. Where do people find you?
So, Steve Properties, our head office is in Chisipiti, Paddington Square. I'm based in Borodo, which is Swift Developments, and we have a commercial hub here in town. We also have a branch in Blawayo, but we have a national presence. Our bottom line, obviously, is that we are a real estate agency.
Yes.
But we are diversifying into just everything to do property services.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I've been having a great conversation with Mike Tashaya here on Business Unusual. This is our Creative Economy Conversations, and we'll see you again this week, this same time next week.
Business Unusual, separating economic facts from fiction.